604 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for Thursday's show. Oh, and we got a show for you, y'all. Going to be a little bit all over the map today, one of those hodgepodge days. But we got a lot of ground to cover. Attorney General Liz Murrill is going to join us later on in the show. She's got a lot on her plate right now, and we're going to dive into all of it. The Ten Commandments case goes up in front of the appeals court. The case about the new law requiring people stand 25 feet back from law enforcement. That one that was actually argued the other day. That's the main one I want to talk about with her. And a whole lot more. Haggai Davis going to be in for a cup of tech gumbo. That is this morning. We got Crimestoppers coming your way. See if we can't catch a few bad guys. Whitney, Hoffman, Sayal from the Downtown Development District going to be on with us. I mean, we got a lot of ground to cover. So let's get right to it. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
Starts off with a federal judge on Wednesday heard arguments over a recently implemented law. This is what we talk about with Liz. A recently implemented law that would make it a crime to be within 25 feet of a working police officer after being instructed to move away. The arguments centered on whether the law is constitutional and specific enough to be enforced. The law went into effect back in August. It immediately faced backlash. Yesterday, attorneys laid out their cases. The state argued it was too soon for the suit because no one had been arrested for violating the law. The plaintiffs countered that laws already exist to stop citizens from interfering with investigations or obstructing police work. We will talk with Attorney General Liz Murrill about this coming up at 7:15.
Number 4.
My apologies. Give me one quick second. A research group says that all of the constitutional amendments considered in Louisiana over the last 50 years, of all the constitutional amendments considered over the last 50 years, the 4 that were on the ballot Saturday drew the smallest percentage of voters. Only 10.8% of the state's registered voters took part, according to PAR. This was just around 332,000 voters statewide. PAR says Louisiana residents have changed the state constitution 221 times since it was adopted a little over 5 decades ago.
Number 3.
Number 3 takes us to the U.S. House of Representatives approved a bill that would designate a unique zip code for LSU. This is coming from Congressman Garrett Graves. LSU is one of 45 cities and locations around the country that the bill directs the U.S. Postal Service to designate under unique zip codes. This is, there was Monts, a town in St. Charles Parish, was also included in this list. Congressman Graves said the bill, H.R. 8753, passed unanimously. It now goes to the Senate for approval.
Number 2.
Number 2 takes us to last night's Metro Council meeting, where Metro Council approved the collection of a 5% franchise fee from Entergy on some residents' power bills to help offset the shift of nearly $50 million in tax revenue. That's the money heading out to St. George because the 2% sales tax in St. George is now going to St. George. Quote, at a time that we're having budget cuts, breakaways, losing $50 million from St. George and other things, every budget in our government has been cut, Councilman Cleve Dunn from District 6 said. With the franchise fee, the city parish could see more than $3 million going into the city. We had Jen Rocca on about this yesterday. She says the money will go towards multiple things, but crime prevention is one of them, and one of the main reasons that they've decided to take this route.
Number 1.
Pennington Biomedical Research Center's Dr. Stephen Hemsfeld and Dr. Peter Kaczmarek are among the most influential researchers in the world, according to the Clarivate Analytics 2024 list of highly cited researchers. This honor highlights the researchers whose work has had significant global influence, highlighting more than 1,200, by pulling from more than 1,200 institutions in 59 nations and regions. This shows Dr. Hemsfeld has been cited over 80,000 times, Dr. Kaczmarek over 45,000. What's trending, John?
Well, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, announced that he will be stepping down from his post before President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in next month.
You know, I'm listening to the news on this morning on the way in on Fox News Rundown.
Yep.
And everybody's kind of just applauding this, saying, good job for Christopher Ray for just stepping out of the way, keeping things fluid, keeping the machine moving, right?
Right.
You step down, let Cash Patel move in, and there's no conflict or anything. I don't know. There's a piece of me that says, no, force the uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Force the uncomfortable conversation. Don't
go out so quietly is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make people live up to it, because it's Donald Trump said he's going to fire him if he doesn't resign. Okay, then fire me. I'm got 3 years left on my gig. I want to do my job. Go ahead and fire me. It's
not go into the night quietly.
Well, no, I'm not Dylan Thomas.
Yeah. In other news, in the days since Luigi Mangione he was charged with murder for gunning down a top health insurance executive, more than 1,000 donations have poured into an online fundraiser for his legal defense, with messages supporting him and even celebrating the crime.
Yeah, I know. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad and disgusting. And then the number of people who just openly, not brazenly, openly condone this.
Yes. And we've talked about it before, that what changes the narrative is that he came from a pristine background, right?
Privilege.
This is privilege and pristine. He's not someone who was really struggling, so this kind of changes things.
This down on your luck
This
story
isn't Robin Hood here. We were talking about that. This
Yeah.
isn't a Robin Hood situation here. This is
that down on your luck.
Yeah.
I turn to United Healthcare because it's my only option.
Yes.
No, this is a family of means. It's a number of options. My interesting thing, though, is the part that I find fascinating is knowing this guy comes from money. He's going to have no problem with his defense fund. So how many people? Okay, let me ask the question. Oh, your health care is too expensive, but you got money to send to this dude? They're just whatever argument there was in support of having the moral high ground for a murderer is gone.
No, absolutely. In sports news here, North Carolina made the splash of the day in the football world when it announced they hired former New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick to a 5-year deal to succeed Mac Brown.
Yeah. I give it a year.
Oh, really?
I give it a year.
Man.
I don't.
It sounds like that's being generous too.
Yeah, I don't see Bill Belichick adapting to the college campus and the recruiting and the NIL and the feeding the egos of 18-year-olds. I mean, where he was in New England is where he's going to pick up in Chapel Hill. I don't see it translating. I see him. You know that SNL sketch where Bill Hader played that really old reporter who was on the scene, Herb?
Yes.
Every time he'd go to talk to somebody on the scene, he'd thunk him in the head with the microphone.
Yeah.
That's what I see Bill Belichick being here. Just angry at everybody and just telling the guy, Herb, always, don't tell me what to do, haircut. That's where I see this heading very, very, a lot quicker than he sees it going.
I think you're right.
We're at 613 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We are due up for a break. When we come back, it's time to dig into sports. We got a lot of ground to cover on sports this morning, so it's going to double up 2 segments worth. Come back, we'll talk. Jaden Daniels is heading to the Superdome. Garrett Nussmeier is heading back to Tiger Stadium, and LSU's 2025 football schedule is out. We'll break it here. We'll come back next.
Matt says, I don't know if it's cleared, but 10 minutes ago there was an 18-wheeler stopped on the airline south exit from I-12 West.
Okay. It didn't hold you up, did it?
No.
Yeah, I'm not showing any delays as a result of it, so we'll see.
Good morning, Renee. Galen says, regarding to legal defense fund, there's a fool born every minute. I guess that's a P.T. Barnum quote.
Yeah.
Speaking of P.T. Barnum, a movie doesn't get enough appreciation? The Greatest Showman.
My kid loves it. My son loves it. I've never seen it.
My kids love it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
actually, all of my kids love it.
The theme, like, it's just so good. So good. I'm glad you clarified Brad Garrett as ABC News, because Brad Garrett, I was thinking of Everybody Loves Raymond. Yeah. I was like, wait, that's funny.
.616 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 37 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your Thursday morning. Haggai Davis could be in for a cup of tech gumbo at the bottom of the hour. So after we check in with ABC News, our local news, traffic, weather, then we'll roll right into cup of tech gumbo. There is a story that is unbelievably infuriating that we'll talk about with Haggai, but it involves a father trying to take medical care of his son and being severely punished for it. How does this roll in with Tech Gumbo? Well, stick around. It's we'll have it for you at 6:35. Right now, though, it is sports time, and let's go ahead and start off with the LSU Tigers. It's going to go Tigers, Saints, Tigers here over the next two segments. Big news yesterday, as it was announced, Garrett Nussmeier posted a video on his social media, different social media outlets, to announce that he is returning next season for his final year of eligibility with LSU.
Bob brought me to LSU for a reason. I had to observe and trust in his timing and his plan for me time and time again. I stayed at LSU because of that reason. And again, I feel like my time at LSU is not over.
Tiger Rag magazine editor Todd Horn says the fact that Nussmeier is returning to LSU next season is not a surprise.
What is surprising is that it took Garrett this long to actually make the announcement. Everybody kind of assumed he was coming back.
I don't know about that. He was in the top 5 most of the season for like top 5 quarterback prospects. You know, if you're looking at Mel Kiper's big board and whatnot, it wasn't as cut and dry as that. And as far as the timing of it being concerned, once the season's over with, you want to get that eval. You want to figure out where your draft projections are going to be, and then sit down and do the math saying, where am I now versus where would I be if I come back next year? What's on the table for me to earn next year? So I don't know if it's as cut and dry as Horn's saying, but he also says it's possible that Nussmeier was negotiating his NIL deal for his senior year, and that likely got some good advice along the way from someone very close to him and knows what he's talking about.
His dad is an NFL quarterbacks coach and has been an NFL coach for years, and I'm sure he advised him that he would benefit greatly by coming back to LSU for another year. And, of course, he'll be looking for that second-year leap, just like Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels had before him.
And just like Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, you've got to assume Nussmeier is going to be in the top 3 for the Heisman projections for next year. I'm looking at the clock here. We have a full minute. Okay. 30. That's what I thought. That's why I didn't want to get into this yet. Jaden Daniels is going to be heading back into the Dome this weekend. Let's just roll that over to the next segment. We can hit that up there. We got the Fox Business Report breathing down our necks. I do have enough time to remind you that, well, while we're talking football, Army-Navy games coming up this weekend, the 125th meeting of the Black Knights versus the Midshipmen. It is the annual Battle for the Commander-in-Chief's Trophy. Our coverage will begin 1 p.m. Saturday. Kickoff is slated for 2 right here on Talk 107.3. Morning. Do what? Oh, I know.
Got the beard growing in? Oh, yeah. There we go.
Just lazy. It won't be here in January.
Oh, no, but it get you through the winter, huh? I thought about shaving mine, but I don't know.
My wife hates it.
Really? Once it gets past that itchy stage, you'll be good.
Oh, I'm past that.
Oh, man.
Well, good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Okay, that's a terrible article. That's clickbait.
It sucks to be able to see the world, but not be able to see anything past your elbow.
Yeah.
Or inside your elbow.
Want me to go get my World War II heater? Okay. I'm probably going to go get it anyway when we hit the news break. Shout out to the caller, or was the caller somebody posted on Facebook? Facebook, okay. That there's a stalled vehicle, a stalled 18-wheeler at the airline off-ramp of I-12, I believe you said westbound?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're looking at this morning on 12 westbound is sporadic delays, or sporadic volume, I should say, from Denham Springs all the way through the 10-12 merge. It's on again, off again. It's not enough to make you want to change your route, but you will tap the brakes a little more than normal. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish is looking great. I-10 eastbound coming across the bridge is looking great. The old bridge looks great as well. Actually, before I say I-10 eastbound coming across the bridge is looking great, there was a hit and run in the roadway about 20 minutes ago, 10 right before it splits off to 110. So the downslope of the bridge, I'm not showing you delays as a result of that, but it is up on the board. Hopping off the interstates and looking at your surface streets, there's an unusual amount of traffic at the intersection of Florida and Sherwood, but I'm not showing why. More so on Sherwood than Florida. But if your morning commute has you going through there, you might have to sit through an extra light cycle along the way. Also, we got an accident in Greenwell Springs at Oak Villa. That's your look at traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. Keep it going at the same volume until I'm done with the promo. Week 15 in the NFL starts this week as the Week 15 in the NFL starts Thursday as the San Francisco 49ers host the Los Angeles Rams at 7:15 p.m. Then tune in Monday night when the Las Vegas Raiders host the Atlanta Falcons at 7:30 p.m. Your home for Monday night and Thursday night football is right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It is 6:25 at Talk 107.3 FM. We were talking a little sports there and had multiple stories, so it spilled over into this segment. We're going to pick up where we left off. Jaden Daniels back in Louisiana this weekend. Man, I wonder how many people are just going to make the trip down to the Dome just to see him. Just to see him. I mean, it's worth it. He's definitely showing up and showing out in the NFL. He's looking great with the Washington Commanders. So they'll be in the Dome to take on the Saints this weekend. Daniel says he's looking forward to playing in front of fans back in Louisiana, but focused on the task at hand, that would be beating the Saints.
I'm excited to go back and be able to play in the state of Louisiana again, but I don't think I'll look back like a year ago, or something like that. So, I mean, I'm excited to go back and play in Louisiana for sure.
So he's your 2023 Heisman Trophy winner, saying that being able to make adjustments from the college game to the pro game, it's every rookie's challenge.
The only thing that kind of, not surprised me, but, is how long the NFL season is. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing, but you never know what happened. When they say any given Sunday, it's any given Sunday for real.
Saints are going to need to keep Daniels in check if they want to win their fourth game out of the last five since Dennis Allen was fired. Kickoff Sunday at noon in the Superdome. You can hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. LSU's 2025 football schedule is out. I'm going to break that down in just a second for you. But first, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. So they're still doing the catering for your Christmas party. If you have not yet had your Christmas party and you're in charge of food, download the Mathern's Rewards app, and you can click on the catering button right on the homepage of the app. There are 53 different party trays that you can order from. You want sandwiches, you want boudin balls, you want chicken fingers, you want fried catfish, you want main dishes, you want side dishes, you want cold trays, you want hot trays, you want dessert trays. They've got you covered across the board. The Mathern's Party Tray Catering is available right now. And it's so easy. It's just at the touch of your fingertips right there. Or if you want to hop on Matherns.com, you can do it there. Or if you wanted to swing by and place your order in person, this is coming to you from the Nicholson Drive location, the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. It's Mathern's. LSU's 2025 football schedule is out. First thing you do when you look at the LSU football schedule, I know the guys on ESPN will break down the individual matchups and whatnot. But the first thing you do when you look at the LSU football schedule is you figure out what 2 weekends in the fall when everything else is going to be scheduled. October 4th, November 1st, those are your two bye dates. So be ready for it. Be ready for it. Every engagement party, every baby shower, hopefully you put the wedding on, but every engagement party, every baby shower, every wedding, every company retreat, whatever it might be, October 4th and November 1st. You know it right there. Those are the two Saturdays in 2025, in the fall of 2025, where literally everything else in Baton Rouge will be scheduled. Now let's go to the schedule itself for LSU football. You get Clemson on August 30th. Whew. Man, that's rough. That is rough. A rough way to start the season. LSU, who has not won a season opener since 2019, is going to be at Clemson. Not like a neutral stadium, or not like a one of those kickoff classic type games. At Clemson, in Clemson Memorial Stadium, which is not a very daunting stadium. I've been there. After being at Clemson, they'll come home on Saturday, September 6th to host La Tech. After La Tech, you've got Florida at on September 13th. By the way, we're not going to have start times on any of the games until it's much, much closer to game time. So, in fact, 2 weeks out for most of them. After Florida on September 13th, you host Southeastern on September 20th, and then head to Ole Miss for September 27th. So, man, that is a rough stretch to start your season off. At Clemson, host Florida, at Ole Miss, all in the first month of your season. After that, you come back home to take on South Carolina. You head to Vanderbilt we take on South Carolina on October 18th. Head to Vanderbilt. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. At South Carolina for October 11th. Head to Vanderbilt on October 18th. I'm gonna get it. I'm all over myself this morning. You host Texas A&M October 25th. You got your second bye week before the Alabama game. Alabama on November 8th. At Alabama on November 8th. Versus Arkansas. Home against Arkansas on November 15th. Hosting the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers on November 22nd, and you'll close out at Oklahoma on November 29th. Here's news. Okay, I'm going to get the heater because I'm cold.
Debbie, those are spam. You can ignore those text messages. Everybody's getting a million text messages just nowadays. There's nothing you can do about it. And Debbie, it's Haggai, Haggai, not Haggard. That was Murrill. He's a great country music singer. I've been called worse, though.
Haggai from the Bible, man.
Well, not many people know that.
Well, we'll school them right now, Haggai. We'll school. I'd be a part of next Theology Thursday.
There you go. That's right. Third to last book in the Old Testament, people. 2 whole pages. Look it up.
Come on. Look it up.
You can finish reading by the end of the first commercial.
Yep. Right before Malachi, man. We're done.
That is fun.
What?
That is a fun one.
Yes.
Where do you put the kerosene?
Bro. That's about right.
Don't worry, Debbie. All good. If you want, Debbie, if you want to know for sure, you can go. You can Google search where the text message came from, the 5 digits or so that it came from. Put in that in the message, and is this real? And that'll give you the best answer as to whether or not this was probably somebody just phishing, trying to get you to click on something.
Wait, is this a thing?
What?
Matthew texts me or tweets, please don't say La Tech. Say Louisiana Tech or just Tech. It's not the same as USL wanting to illegally be called Louisiana. La Tech just sounds terrible. Is that a thing? I don't know.
No.
Everyone.
I've never heard that. And I got a kid who went to Louisiana Tech. To La Tech.
Did they call it La Tech when they were there?
I didn't really say much about it.
Yeah.
Teenage kid. Like, I don't want to talk to you. You're an old man. I'll talk to you when I turn 25.
Dude, I'm already feeling a heater.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Like the backside of my leg is 20 degrees warmer than the front side.
Yeah. Crazy.
Transfer of thermal energy.
You know, I think I will call it Louisiana Tech. I'm going to tell you why. I'm more than willing to adapt to what Louisiana Tech fans would want just to infuriate ULL fans.
UL Lafayette fans?
Yes. USL fans? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
UL Lafayette. I love to say UL Lafayette.
It is a cold start to the morning. How long will we get to keep this around? Here's your forecast from Emma Kate Cowan. .637 Talk 107.3 FM at WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So in breaking down the LSU schedule, the Bulldogs of Ruston are going to be coming to town. And I called them, I referred to them as La Tech. I've always referred to them as La Tech. Matthew hits me up on Twitter and says, please don't say La Tech. Say Louisiana Tech or just Tech. La Tech sounds terrible. And you know what? I'm more than happy to oblige that. I am more than happy. Yes, Louisiana Tech. I am more than happy. You know why? Because you're not asking to be called something you're not. Like if you were University of Louisiana at Lafayette and you wanted to drop the Lafayette, that's not who you are. We've had Dr. Jim Henderson on the show before, the former president of the UL system, saying, no, they're not supposed to call themselves that, but they do anyway. Okay. Louisiana Tech it is then, Matthew. And I hope I can remember, because that's one of those ones that's ingrained, but I hope I can remember that. Always. Louisiana Tech. All right. It is, speaking of Tech, oh, segue master right there. Speaking of Tech, it's time for a cup of Tech Gumbo. You are going to hear the scientific names of anatomical parts in this segment. Just letting you know right now. If you want to brace yourself because you hear a word that you don't normally hear on the radio, it will be scientific to be sure, but you might hear a word or two. It's time for a cup of tech gumbo. Welcoming in Haggai Davis. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Well played, Brian.
Thank you, sir.
Nice segue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was on a tee for me.
It's
so
like you're a professional doing this.
Well, it's not much of a paycheck, but it does cash. So we got a lot of ground to cover this morning, and you and I were talking yesterday, and you told me about a story that I thought infuriated me until I actually read it, and then I didn't realize just how much it would infuriate me. We got so much to cover, too. Everything you got this week is awesome. Headline: A dad took photos of his naked toddler for the doctor. Google flagged him as a criminal. Google has an automated tool to detect abusive images of children, but the system can get it wrong, and the consequences are serious. We're not going to get into last names here. A guy named Mark with his son. Mark noticed something amiss with his toddler. His son, and we are going to use technical terms, his son's penis looked swollen and was hurting him. Mark is a stay-at-home dad in San Francisco. He grabbed his Android smartphone, took pictures to document the problem so he could track his progression. Mark's son's doctor said, I need those pics. And we need to get a look at what we're getting at here so I can properly diagnose what's going on. Google then dropped the hammer on him. Take it from there.
So this happened in February of 2021. We were still on the back end of COVID at that point.
I'm sorry, you're right. That's a really important point to point out.
So not everyone was just running down to the local health clinic or the doctor, because this was a Friday night. It was after hours. Excuse me. And so this guy sends the pictures to his doctor because he's concerned. He's the dad. He's probably a young guy with an infant son and doesn't know what's going on. Well, Google's AI kicks in and recognizes the anatomical pictures that are there, and it's probably for children, probably a picture of a child, and Google flags him as a someone who is trafficking in child sexual abuse materials. They notified the police. They cut off his Google phone because he had a Google Fi account, so they turned off his phone number. They shut down his Gmail account, which closed out his emails, his contacts, his calendars, everything that he had stored in his Google Drive. Google shuts it all down. So they turn this information over to the San Francisco police. The police try and reach out to this young dad, but they can't get a hold of him because his Google Fi phone number has been turned off. Eventually, this young dad reaches out to the police department because he kind of suspects what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Oh yeah, we've been trying to get in touch with you. We checked with your doctor. We found out, all of the things that you're telling us. You're not a sex criminal. You're not trafficking in illicit materials. You were trying to take care of your son. You're good. Here's your manila folder with all your information." And he tries to reach out to Google, and Google said, "We're sorry. We've already deleted all of your stuff. As far as we're concerned, you're trafficking in illegal material. You're not getting any of your information back."
Which basically deletes his online existence.
Yes.
Because, and you didn't get into the social media into that, where if you lose all your email and all your contact and everything, he can't log into anything else anywhere else. This man only exists in, it sounds weird to say it out loud, he only exists in reality now, or after this.
The fact that he put all of his eggs into one basket, into Google's basket, mm-hmm. and the basket got dropped and everything in the basket is gone. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a, hey, don't rely on just one entity. Try and spread your information around just in case something ridiculous like this happens. But Apple had the same opportunity to launch a similar type of software, and Apple chose not to because they saw what was going on with this one account. And so Apple is actually being sued because they're not rolling out this software that scans using AI across the entire Apple ecosystem looking for child sexual abuse materials. And Apple's saying, wait, if we do, we go. There's a fine line between taking measures to really stop a horrendous practice, and then also taking care of the individual who's just trying to take care of his kid.
Right.
And look, I've spent my entire adult life in the IT and telecommunications world trying to talk to these monolith companies like a Microsoft, an Apple, a Google, any one of them is absolutely impossible. And if you ever actually do get somebody on the phone, it's infuriating. And so it's not surprising that Google would not talk to this guy. What is surprising is that Google does have an appeal process online, and even through the appeal process, this guy was denied all of his information because they deleted it. It's gone.
Right.
And it's really, really frustrating. Here's a young dad who's scared on a Friday evening that something is medically going on with his kid in the middle of COVID, and he reaches out to a doctor, and the doctor says, send me some pics so I can help you. And because of that, Google labels him as a predator trying to traffic sexual material.
Mm-hmm. The problems with this are multiple. Number one is that Google only had the ability to determine what was in the picture and not the context surrounding the picture. That's problem number one. But not inability, the brazen disregard for correcting their own mistakes, I think is the bigger problem here. And it's going to lead to other problems as well when you start talking about like just how much power does Google have. When
you consider how many Google phones are out there, the Androids, worldwide is the vast predominant. In the United States, we've talked about this before, iPhones are 80% of the U.S. The rest of the world, it's 80% Android. So there's billions and billions of these phones.
I'll tell you what, let's push pause right now because we got to hit traffic. We got to hit your money now. He's Haggai Davis for a Cup of Tech Gumbo. We will continue this conversation next right here on Talk 107.3. Now, as infuriating as this story is, let me take you back to, you did go watch all of Silicon Valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know Google's technology there. Remember the application of the not hot dog, because it could only recognize hot dog versus not hot dog. So they used the technology to recognize penises to flag porn. That's what they did in the show. And now it's real.
Well played.
It goes back to the not hot dog app. Seafood. It's like this uses ham for food.
Absolutely. I mean, I kid you not, trying to talk to Microsoft about somebody's account, trying to talk to HP, talk to Google about, somebody who's paying Google a lot of money monthly, that we're supporting them as a managed services provider, and you can't talk to anybody. It's online. Just go find a YouTube video. It just, the fact that they don't want to talk to you, they go so far out of their way to not talk to people. I mean, everybody remembers, we got to call India. They outsourced everything to India. Well, India got too expensive, so then they outsourced that to China,
right?
Who then outsourced it to Indonesia, who then outsourced it to the Philippines.
Who has since outsourced it to artificial intelligence.
Bingo.
Hey, even, I don't care where in the world you are, as long as you're talking to a person, as difficult as it might be to sift through their accent, it's still a person, so there's recourse. As long as they're AI, there is no recourse. There's only what answers have already been.
What it's been programmed to tell you. Probably want to talk about Sora being released as well, because that's scary as all hell.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Henderson went ahead and liked my tweet. Awesome. I wonder if he was listening or if he just happened to cross it. Oh, no, he's the president of La Tech now, Louisiana Tech now.
The Dr. Guy?
Yeah, Dr. Henderson moved from the UL system over to Louisiana Tech. So
Okay.
he probably gets flagged anytime Louisiana Tech is mentioned on Twitter.
Because Dr. Leslie Geist was the president for a long time.
Not anymore.
Apparently.
About a year ago. Maybe,
Was it? Okay.
maybe a year and a half. He wanted more time to play with grandkids, so he stepped. He dialed his role back by taking on a university president job. But that's just how, I mean, with the UL system, he was constantly moving.
You're traveling all over the state as opposed to staying in Ruston. You go up to the 16th floor of that building with no windows.
I've never been on their campus.
It's a nice campus. And the administrative building, like the first 2 floors have windows, and then you go up 16 floors with no windows, and then you get to the 16th floor and where the president's office is, and it has windows.
Interesting.
It's
652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got Haggai Davis in for a little while longer talking tech. We do a cup of tech gumbo about this time every day, or every Thursday, I should say. Although we'll be back at it next week, and then Christmas time is going to throw everything off. So, but you'll be filling in for me on December 30th.
I will.
So, but the rest of the what would be the 26th would be a Thursday.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then January 2nd we'll be back at it for real. Getting back into it for this morning, though, the story we were talking about with Google, you had mentioned some parallels of, well, not parallels, but actually opposites with Apple. Before we get into that side of it, and you and I were talking during the break, one of the, as infuriating as it is that Google only relied on a certain limited amount of technology to identify what was in the picture. And for those of you just tuning in, this was back on the back end of COVID. It's 2021. A father in San Francisco noticed a problem with his son, his toddler son, and the problem was he had a discolored red and inflamed. It was his penis, and he sent the picture to the toddler's doctor, to the pediatrician, and Google basically erased his online life. It's not just that, look, here's a picture of this, so it means pornography, child porn at that. It's not just that. It's the lack of context as well. Sent from who to whom? Like, why was that not part of the equation? Why was their intelligence gathering so limited to just what was contained in the picture? That's not as infuriating as that is, the complete lack of recourse is so much more infuriating.
It really is, and the fact that Google has an appeal process, it's all online,
allegedly,
and I'm sure it goes into an inbox, and somebody looks at it and says, "I don't believe you," and boom, moves on. If it's even reviewed by a human,
right? I don't think they have an appeals process; they just have a goose for you to chase.
And having had to deal with those companies, it is such a briar patch that you're diving into. It hurts to have to call HP or Microsoft or Google or any one of these monolith organizations that just don't want to talk to you. So I feel for this dad.
No, so do I.
It's such a sad situation that he found himself in, that he lost his entire digital presence.
Right.
I mean, think about it. If you lost right now every contact that you have in your phone or in your contacts where you keep your contacts, all of your emails, your calendar is just gone, and you have no access to get it back. Your phone number that you've been using that everyone knows is gone, and you can't get it back.
Right.
How would you handle that?
It's not. Do we have a term of digital amnesia? But that's not even digital, because everybody else forgets you too.
Yes. I mean, there's no way to find you at that point.
Right. You were literally starting your online life back over again.
You can't confirm anything if somebody wants to know who you were.
Now, of all the problems that there were when you'd call a text center, you talk about how infuriating it is to call a text center. At least when you're calling a text center, there's a person there. And as long as there's a person, regardless of where they are in the world, regardless of whether or not you can understand their accent, as long as there's a person on the other end, there is the opportunity to explain your case in your words, and they can hear you, and they can make a human decision. Right now, it's all AI-based.
Absolutely.
So the decision is already based off of the outcome of previous arguments.
And that bot will only give you what it's been programmed to give you.
Right.
And
Based off of previous outcomes.
And you go in circles with it, and then you just hang up, and then the company wins because they didn't have to pay somebody.
So how does AI learn from here and get more adaptive?
It learns by what the company wants to program it to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't understand, I've been talking to Haggai, so I understand the colorful language that he was using. That's not the way it works. It takes that information in and it stores it, but its only output is going to be, if done properly, I should say, the AI is only going to give out the information that the company wants it to give out. So it can only give out these 10 answers based upon anything that you say. And so, you can ask it, is the sun going to come up tomorrow? And it's going to say, press 5, and we'll get you to the right person.
Right.
Or something ridiculous like that.
So I know this. I'm making an overgeneralization here, but essentially AI is, through that lens, is a magic 8-ball.
Very good.
You shake it, you're going to get an answer. It doesn't matter what the answer is. You just shook it, you got an answer.
And it's one of the answers that was programmed to give you. It was only the 12 answers on that cube that you roll around inside that ball.
Right. Okay, let's stick with AI, but pivot over to some scarily amazing news.
Sora was released. If you want to go to Sora.com, Sora.com, this is the AI-generated video arm of the OpenAI or ChatGPT's sister company.
Mm-hmm.
The videos that you can now make are absolutely amazing. The color, the content, the clarity is just spectacular. Now, you have to have a paid account with OpenAI to be able to generate these. And right now, there's such a demand that they're not taking any new subscribers because they're overloaded in just the 3 days that it's been open.
Wow.
And if you do have an account right now, the videos you can make are only 480p. You're allowed 50 videos per month, and they're anywhere from 15 seconds to as much as 5 minutes. So no, you're not going to go out and make your 90-minute movie right now.
Right.
But you're going to make these short videos. You can only make 50 a month unless you pay the $200 a month subscription, and then you can have unlimited number of videos. But again, they're capping how long, the clarity, and all of those things, because Sora just doesn't have the data centers big enough to hold all the video that's being created. And when I tell you, if you go to Sora.com and just see on the front page some of the videos that people have been creating, it's over.
That's where we're going to have to pick it up. He is Haggai Davis. We do a cup of tech gumbo this time every week and get a full serving on the weekends. Haggai, always appreciate the time.
You bet.
Here comes news.
The other story we didn't get to, Google sponsored a study that said teens think being online is a good thing.
Yeah. saw that. Because they need sleep.
They do need sleep, but they think being online is good.
Yeah, because they don't. I mean, when you don't have a point of comparison, sure.
And it's like, okay, are we letting the inmates run the asylum now? It's Google.
Well, they can think it all day long.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's this thing's put out by Google, and by the way, Google owns YouTube, and because kids, I learn things when I go online. Oh, really? Well, I do too. I guess when I go to YouTube, I do learn things. It was a silly article. Yeah, it was a full show. The other story, Microsoft, this Windows 11 update, the mandatory upgrade next October.
Yeah.
Them saying, well, if you have an older computer, you don't have to have the TPM 2.0 chip to get to Windows 11 now. You can still upgrade to Windows. You just won't get any support and updates. And it's like, come on, Microsoft, don't. It's just infuriating what Microsoft is doing.
Clint's just tried dealing with a hacked and deactivated Facebook.
Oh, it's a good question, Byron.
What's the question?
He said, "Isn't it illegal in most districts to destroy evidence of a crime? Why would they delete the data if they thought the crime was committed?"
Boy, that is a good point.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't delete the everything until the police said it's not a crime, but we're still not giving him his account back. I don't know. Google they were just being asinine about it. Not a better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thinking that through, though, if it were a crime and they were to press charges, now Google would be, if they'd already deleted it. Nothing's deleted, though.
There's probably an archive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they may have kept those photos but they got rid of all of his online accounts.
Possible.
As well.
But then you got to prove where the photos came from.
Back to getting in the sleigh to make my way through the snow uphill.
It's you soak up a little more before you hit it.
It feels good though.
Yeah.
Have a great evening.
7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We've actually dipped down by 1 degree to start the second hour. 36 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge as we send Haggai out the front door into it. It's just cold out there. It is cold. We've got a busy second hour for you. Attorney General Liz Murrill going to join us in our next segment coming up about 9 minutes from right now, 9.5 minutes from right now. We're going to talk about two things mainly. I don't get up to speed on everything she's got going on in her office. She's been busy lately. But one of the things in particular I want to talk about, we're going to cover in Top Stories and Trending. So let's just go ahead and hit Top Stories and Trending.
Number 5.
A federal judge yesterday heard arguments over a recently implemented law that made it a crime to be within 25 feet of a working police officer after being instructed to move away. The arguments centered on whether the law is constitutional and specific enough to be enforced. The law went into effect back in August. It immediately faced backlash. Yesterday, attorneys laid out their cases. The state argued too soon for the suit because no one had been arrested for violating the law. The plaintiffs countered that the laws already exist that stop citizens from interfering with investigations or obstructing police work. We're going to talk with Liz Murrill about this coming up in 8.5 minutes.
Number 4.
A research group says that of all the constitutional amendments considered in Louisiana over the last 50 years, the 4 that were on the ballot Saturday drew the smallest percentage of voters. Only 10.8% of the state's registered voters took part, according to PAR Louisiana. This is around 332,000 voters. PAR says Louisiana residents have changed the state constitution 221 times since it was adopted 5 decades ago.
Number 3.
Bit of a battle at the Metro Council last night, and we got a preview of it on the show yesterday. Metro Council approved the collection of a 5% franchise fee from Entergy on some residents' power bills to help offset the shift of nearly $50 million that is going to fund the city of St. George. It's the 2% sales tax within the city of St. George. Cleve Dunn says, quote, at a time that we're having budget cuts, breakaways, losing $50 million from St. George and other things, every budget in our government has been cut. With the franchise fee, the city parish will see more than $3 million going into the city. Now, we had Jen Rock on yesterday. She says the money is going to go towards a number of things, but crime prevention and law enforcement are at the very, very top of that list.
Number 2.
The U.S. House of Representatives approved a bill that would designate a unique zip code for LSU. Congressman Garrett Graves announced this yesterday. LSU is one of 45 cities and locations around the country that the bill directs the U.S. Postal Service to designate unique zip codes for. Montz is a town over in St. Charles Parish. They're included on that list as well. It's H.R. 8753 if you're scoring at home. It passed unanimously. It goes to the Senate for approval.
Number 1.
Pennington Biomedical Research Center's Dr. Stephen Hemsfeld and Dr. Peter Kaczmarek are among the most influential researchers in the world, according to Clarivate's Analytics 2024 list of highly cited researchers. The honor highlights researchers whose work has had significant global influence. They tapped into 1,200 institutions, 59 nations and regions worldwide. Dr. Hemsfeld has been cited over 80,000 times. Dr. Kaczmarek over 45,000 times. What's trending, John?
Well, FBI Director Christopher Wray announced.
Ray.
Not
Way?
I said Ray.
You said Way.
Ray. Ray Way.
I'm
Ray.
contagious this morning. Like what I
Ray.
had last hour, you got now.
What the crap?
Oh, man.
What did I say last hour?
No, what I said last hour.
Oh, you said Way?
When I was trying to get up the LSU football schedule.
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know.
It was like
I couldn't get home.
I saw the buffering. Usually it's over my head.
Couldn't determine the difference between home and a Ray.
Yeah. Christopher Wray announced he will be stepping down from his post before President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in next month.
Everybody seems to think this is a good idea. Everybody seems to think.
What does Brian think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of me that said, okay, Donald Trump says he's going to fire Christopher Wray if he doesn't resign.
Yeah.
If I'm Christopher Wray, part of me says, you want to do that, then that's the process.
Bring it on, right?
Go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
Fire me. I got 3 more years left on my gig here. I'm not leaving. I don't care if it makes it a smoother transition. I wasn't hired to do what's easy. I was hired to do a job.
Good point.
I was hired by Donald Trump, nonetheless. But
Right, yeah.
and look, Trump comes in, Trump fires him. No hard feelings.
No.
But if this is the way you want the process to work, then let's just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming anyway, right? I
Right.
mean, yeah. And like I said last hour, just not going silently into the night here. In the days since Luigi Mangione, see, I'm screwing it up, was charged with murder for gunning down a top health insurance executive, more than 1,000 donations have poured into an online fundraiser for his legal defense, with messages supporting him and even celebrating his crime.
So sick. Okay. Can we walk down this path for just a quick second?
I don't know.
I want to
Depends
ask
how far
this
we go before we get
philosophical
shot.
question. Okay. If you believe that greed and corruption has taken over someone to where they are just inherent evil, if you believe that someone is so greedy and so corrupt that they are evil incarnate, they have to be removed from society, and you agree with this person who shot them, you condone the killing, you support the killer because you believe that greed and corruption have turned this person evil. If you agree with that, then why would you disagree with people storming the Capitol looking for Nancy Pelosi on January 6th of 2021 because they believed that greed and corruption had taken her over?
We'll allow that to simmer for a little bit.
Oh,
We'll let that-
moral
yeah, we'll let that-
relativism?
yeah.
Moral relativism is a big thing. Yeah, he's got to go, but only because I agree with him.
Mm.
That's why the ends justifying the means is never a good argument.
Oof. In sports news here, North Carolina made the splash of the day in the football world when it announced they hired former New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick to a 5-year deal to succeed Mac Brown.
Yeah. It's a splash. It's going to get a lot of headlines. I don't think he's lasted a year. I don't think it's not the same.
Different
It's
environment.
just not the same.
Everything, yeah. You mentioned it last year, right? I mean, you're stroking the egos of,
18-year-olds who believe they're already
Yeah.
NFL Hall of Famers.
yeah, that's got to be tough.
He's up there. I mean, he's not. I'm not going to go ahead and say he's like old because the game hasn't passed him by. I don't think. I just think that moving from a world where you had professionals working under contracts to where you have a world of 18-year-olds who have, you know what? I'm just going to opt out. I'm not playing this week. Forget it. I'm opting out. I'm in the transfer portal now. Well, wait a minute now. You can't do that. There's no free agency period.
Yeah.
There's times you can announce for the portal, but it's a completely different world.
That it is.
Bayou Gal says on Twitter, come on, Brian, there's no comparison. There is a comparison. It's just tough to see the comparison when it's something you disagree with. It's tough to see the comparison when you already see the other side as being in the wrong. Those people believe that Nancy Pelosi was evil and had to be removed. That was walking up and down the halls yelling, Nancy, where are you? Come out wherever you are. Like, that was their belief then. Then this guy actually pulled the trigger 3 times. Maybe even more. He only wrote on 3 of the casings. All right, we got a break. We got Liz Murrill coming up next.
Dang, that was loud. Whew. Studio. Hello, yes, ma'am. We'll have you up here in about a minute or so. All right, thank you. Liz Murrill's on the phone.
Awesome.
She's in.
What would the new LSU zip code be? I don't like numbers wise. $7:16, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along, holding at 36 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Bumping through the emails yesterday, got back-to-back press releases from Attorney General Liz Murrill's office. The first one talks about filing the opening brief in the Fifth Circuit defending Louisiana's Ten Commandments law. We'll get to that one in a little bit, but I want to start with this one. Attorney General Liz Murrill's statement after the court hearing on Act 259, that's the 25-foot buffer zone for working police. Attorney General Liz Murrill joins us now. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing very well as well. I got my little space heater in the studio, so we're nice and toasty.
It's chilly.
Yes. Oh, it is. 25-foot buffer zone. This was passed in our last legislative session. Walk us through, before we get to your arguments yesterday, walk us through what the law actually calls for here and why.
Well, what it calls for is for people to keep a 25-foot distance from police when they've been asked to move. Mm-hmm. So it's not arbitrary in the sense that that they do give you a warning. You know, if you're interfering with the police doing their job and they say move back, you've got to get back 25 feet, they'll tell you move back, and they'll tell you where to move, and you got to move. And, you know, I think that the problem that we've had, you may remember, you know, we had a police officer who was hit in the face and had teeth knocked out from frozen ice water at some of these protests that occurred a couple of years ago. And we've had other incidents where people are interfering with the police doing their job because they're trying to film them. And, you know, so these are time, place, and manner restrictions on people who, you know, it doesn't stop you from filming. It doesn't stop you from saying or yelling if you want to yell, but you just need to not be interfering with the police. And if they tell you to move, you got to move.
What was the argument against it?
Some of the arguments are that it's vague and people don't really know if they're violating the law or not. And I don't think that's right. I mean, the law says the police have to ask you. That it's a 25-foot buffer that if you've been asked to move, you got to move. So, you know, it is, I think, a burden on the 25-foot mark is. Like, where do you need to move? They should tell you where you need to move. But that number, you know, 25 feet is a reasonable number. It's not really very far. 25 feet is not very far, and it's a distance that puts people safely away from where the police are trying to do their jobs. There's been arguments that it violates people's First Amendment rights, but it doesn't say that you can't exercise your First Amendment rights. It just says that you have to do it from 25 feet.
Yeah, you could flush that argument down the toilet because it's nothing stifling your First Amendment rights at all. It's
right.
I mean, I guess the best argument against it is probably the argument saying who's measuring the 25 feet here, who's saying you get your toe on the line,
right?
You know, and
right, and it's not like you just show up and the police say you're in my 25-foot zone, you're arrested. Like, that's not how this works. So, I think you do get a fair warning, and I believe the oral arguments went well, although I really don't know what Judge DeGravelle will do. He enjoined the Ten Commandments law, even though there's no poster on the wall yet. So I really don't know what he'll do. If he enjoins the law, then we will immediately ask for a stay in the Fifth Circuit.
So one of your arguments yesterday was that it's premature to have this lawsuit because this law hasn't been challenged yet. Nobody has filed suit yet. If I'm walking down this path with you here, and we got Attorney General Liz Murrill with us, if I'm walking down this path with you here, Am I hearing a little bit behind the argument that, like, no officer is going to be unreasonable in the enforcement of this? So you're not going to have a referee saying your toe was on the line.
Well, I mean, that we always have to look at a law, just kind of litigation, constitutional litigation 101 for a minute. We look at whether there's actually a live controversy and whether there's adequate basis for someone to bring the lawsuit before there's actually a factual scenario in play for the court to evaluate. This is one of those. It's a challenge. It's a facial challenge to the law, saying that there's no way that this law can meet constitutional scrutiny under the First Amendment. We think that's wrong, and that if you want to challenge it, then you need to be challenging it in a specific scenario where something has happened and the courts can look at that particular application of the law, because it certainly, broadly speaking, is a time, place, and manner restriction. It's not a content-based restriction.
So when we do see this challenge, and I should say if we do see this challenged, what kind of parameters are the officers going to be held to make sure that 25 foot is 25 foot? Like, is there even a way to project that?
It's a 25-foot buffer. I mean, if they ask you to move and they ask you to move to 25, you got to move to 25 feet. I think that they are going to be the ones that have to tell you where the 25 feet is.
Right.
I don't think they can say, get back 25 feet, and you're just standing there and you're like, I don't know where 25 feet is. So I think they have to tell you where 25 feet is. But at the end of the day, that's not a vague restriction. Like, 25 feet is a very concrete number. Who has to figure that out? I mean, if you're going to be exposed to being arrested for obstruction of justice or interfering with the police, I think that, that necessarily means it's really incumbent upon the police to tell you where the mark is. But once they've told you and they've asked you, then you need to move. And I don't think there's anything vague about that, and I don't think there's anything that would subject people randomly to, getting accidentally caught up in being arrested by the police. I mean, generally, most people aren't going to be trying to interfere with the police. If the police ask people to move, ordinarily most people are going to move. We've been in a situation in the last few years where you have a lot of protests. You have people that want to film the police while the police are arresting somebody. That may be a First Amendment protected activity, but it doesn't mean that they get to do it from 3 feet from the officer, where the officer is now having to deal with the concerns about that person and the safety of that person or the interference of that person, while they are also trying to deal with someone who is being arrested. So, it keeps the police officer safe. It's a reasonable zone that allows the police to do their job without the interference of people who may want to watch, may want to film, may not agree with what's happening, but have no legal right to interfere with it.
We've got Attorney General Liz Murrill with us talking about the 25-foot law. Attorney General Murrill, if we could, and I don't even know if this comes up as part of the argument, but how did the law first determine that 25-foot number as being the right number? Like, was that just, I don't want to ask if it was arbitrarily chosen, but how did they determine 25 feet to be the reasonable distance?
I don't really know the answer to that question, Brian. It was part of the legislative process, and there are a couple of laws like this around the country, and so it's quite possible that a legislator saw a similar law being pushed through a legislature in another state and thought, well, that seems like a reasonable number. Ultimately, there's any number that you pick it's going to be an arbitrary choice in the sense that if I said 24 feet, that's no less arbitrary than 25. But the question is it a reasonable zone that to allow people to continue to engage and watch and film or do whatever it is they want to see the police doing, but also not interfere with the police. And so I think if it was 10 feet or 12 feet or 25 feet, the question really is that a reasonable number that still allows people to carry out First Amendment protected activity but also allows the police to carry out their legally protected activity.
Yeah, there's what's on paper for the law, and then there's what I've envisioned playing out in the real world. And more often than not, I would imagine an officer would, when they say get back, rather than measuring 25 feet, they're going to pick a landmark. Right. How far back? Well, you see that stop sign there, just right there.
There.
And that's where there's a certain level of humanity that gets lost in this when you argue against it.
Yeah, I think there are practical ways that the police can work around making sure that they are not capturing any, that they're actually measuring properly and that they're not sweeping people in without having actually identified where the zone is. It says 25 feet. If you're asked to get back 25 feet, the police need to tell you where you need to move.
Right. All right, let's pivot over. We got to talk about the 10 Commandments coming up in front of the Fifth Circuit. You filed the opening brief. Is the argument for the Fifth Circuit the same as it was the first time around? And if not, why not?
Well, it's still, one of our, biggest arguments still is that this lawsuit is not right, that it isn't ready for prime time because no posters have actually been posted. You may recall that I had a press conference where we put a bunch of illustrations up of potential applications, posters that my staff just kind of dreamed up. Some of them were, kind of lighthearted, and some of them were more, historical based, and one had some comments and quotes from Justice Ginsburg. One had historical documents built around it. The point of that was to illustrate how this law can be applied constitutionally, because the legal standard is that they have to meet, the plaintiffs have to meet to succeed in having the law declared unconstitutional, is that there is no possible constitutional application of this law under any circumstances. And I don't think they can meet that standard. We've demonstrated that there are ways to constitutionally apply this law, and that should be the end of it. And it also should prove the point that the law, if you want to challenge it, should be challenged in an as-applied manner, not in a facial manner, because they cannot prove that there's no constitutional application of the law. So we'll see what happens in the Fifth Circuit. I think that the law, there are a bunch of school boards that can still put posters up. There were only 5 school boards that were sued, and so there's only 5 school boards that are actually subject to this injunction.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I thought because of the suits it was shut down everywhere.
No, that's really not the way the law works.
Wow.
And I think that, the judge issued a ruling that told Bessie and Kay Brumley that to send a letter to all the school boards explaining that, he had declared the law unconstitutional. And, that's problematic for a couple of reasons. One, because it was a preliminary injunction, and the standard for a preliminary injunction is not it's not the final ruling of constitutionality. It's a ruling that the plaintiffs are likely to succeed because he believes the law is most likely unconstitutional. It's not a final declaration and a final injunction. But the bigger issue there is that only the people who are sued are subject to the jurisdiction of the federal court. This is a federal lawsuit. And so while he believes the law is unconstitutional, and while if somebody put a poster up, that school board could potentially get sued because of the ruling that he issued, they are not subject to his injunction. They can't be hauled into court and brought before Judge DeGravel and have him say, you violated my order. Their answer would be, I'm not subject to your order. I wasn't sued.
I find this fascinating, especially this angle of it, because it has nothing to do with the constitutionality of the law and everything to do with what has and has not been done.
Yeah, so, it's just, I think that there was certainly, I think the order seemed to want all the school boards to comply with it.
Yeah.
But they're not obligated to do that. And so I've had a lot of phone calls about that, and it did create confusion. It's just as a matter of law, you're not subject to a ruling in a case where you were never sued.
Right. But it's basically, we'll have that fight tomorrow, but we got to have this fight first.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So.
Well, and then,
we'll see. We're going to the Fifth Circuit. We've got a panel that dissolved the administrative stay, so those 5 boards can't do anything. Bessie is subject to it. Cade is subject to it. But we have some posters that we think meet constitutional guidelines and meet the restrictions in the most recent pronouncement from the United States Supreme Court about how you can post the 10 Commandments and still be compliant with the Establishment Clause. If somebody wishes to do it, then, I've said, look, these are the posters we think are the best posters to probably use. And because they are testing, they are potentially going to get sued. I mean, and if they do, we said we'd represent them.
Well, I would drop the word potentially from that one, but you can't because you hold the title. So she's Attorney General Liz Murrill. I greatly appreciate the updates. We'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you. Here's news. Oh, shit. That was fun. There he is. I didn't see a text saying you were stuck out in the cold. So, but I was ready to jump up too, like jump up and run down. That's probably T-Bob because he just wears costumes just because. I missed you too. Yeah, he did.
Come running. I know, right?
You in next week?
Yeah,
As we go.
Garrett's supposed to be here.
I care. Okay.
Oh, what you got?
Oh, nothing. I'm mapping out the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
The next 2 Thursdays after that.
You out?
No. Oh, sorry. The Thursday after that, I'm out. The Thursday in between Christmas and New Year's, I'm out.
Okay.
David St. Romain will be in, but it's the day after Christmas. If you want to skip, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll do that.
It's a good looking shirt. Is that a Haspel?
It's Mizzen in Maine.
Good looking shirt.
Hey, man, I'm trying to get some pointers from you.
And then I'll be back at it on January 2nd.
Okay, so next week's to go, and then after that, January 2nd.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to feel like such a loss, such an emptiness.
What, the weekend between Christmas and New Year's?
It won't be the same.
I mean, you want to try to. Okay. I mean, I can call you.
Well, I may do that.
I'll probably still be in bed. I think I'm gonna get this guy on next week. Brian Fontenot, the state rep who wrote the law, the stay back law.
just made some fresh coffee downstairs.
Really? Thank you for that.
I did. I mean, I do what I can. I mean, you would think I would get access.
It's happening next year, Don. Don, we're installing next year a little buzzer. So.
Well, that's not the same.
Really? Yeah.
That's not the same.
Well.
I need like a little pictured name tag.
I'll see if I can get that.
I should have told Gordy.
It's not a picture name tag. It's just a key card.
I know, but we're gonna step it up.
Okay.
I should have told Gordy that
So
at the LSU games.
Yes.
Hey man, can I get it back?
The system we have right now, we can't get new key cards for because they're not
It's
compatible
old,
anymore. Yeah.
But the buzzer would help. A little camera buzzer.
Very much so. It is time to get a look at your forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan.
Which you want to go with today? But I have some fugitives. We can talk about Christmas.
Yeah.
Safety tip shopping. And also, I guess they are a dating app. I'm not sure what it is. But these people are going on these apps and being befriended by a girl or a guy, and they're giving a sad story. Well, it's a big scam. And they're
New catfishing?
Similar. I mean, but I don't know what the apps are. I just heard of this. I'm sure it's been going around for a while. But, like, they're sending money and, hey, I'm going to come visit and come pick me up.
That's catfishing.
Yeah,
That's...
I mean, yeah. Just to mention it.
738 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is time, as we do every week, for Crimestoppers. Yes, it's time for Crime Stoppers. Yes, we welcome in Lieutenant Don Capola. How are you, man?
I'm good. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Doing very well as well.
Missed you last week.
Johnny did a good job. Missed you too.
He did a
Johnny,
good job.
Johnny
He did.
stepped
he
in.
Did well. I felt this emptiness.
This
is my
emptiness.
This is our Thursday.
Yes, it is.
But I appreciate him stepping in. He's a busy man.
Mm-hmm.
But he made time, and I'm grateful.
Same. Nothing wrong with a decent pinch hit once in a while, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of ground to cover. There's some fugitives out there that we're looking for as well. But I would like to start with the season that is upon us. That is Christmas season. There's so much to talk about. Because,
where has the time gone?
Well, and that's where I want to start, Don. Is because it's such a rushed Christmas season. The way the calendar mapped out this year,
yes.
It's literally the shortest Christmas season you can possibly have. Because Friday, November 1st was a Friday, which was going to mean that the fourth Thursday in November would be the longest you could go through November before getting to the fourth Thursday.
Yes.
So that means there's fewer days on the back end, which means we've all been a little bit more rushed, a little bit more panicked. Not panicked, but
just the rush. And
2-minute drill.
Thanksgiving it's like it was forgotten. It was skipped over because of the as you mentioned, the closeness between the two.
Yes.
And let's forget Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden you just saw Christmas.
Right.
The decorations,
We didn't put
music.
We didn't put out outside decorations this year. We skipped right past it. I mean, because at this point it's like, well, it's already the 12th.
It's already the 12th.
So you only got 4 more weeks worth of.
By the time you put them up, you're taking them back down.
Right. Yeah. They'd go up. Christmas hits. Then you start the 12 days of Christmas, and then they come back down for King's Day. It's way too jammed up.
We just need to
that
slow
being
down.
said,
Slow down.
Well, because when you don't slow down, mistakes can be made. You can get a little haphazard. You can, be walking out of one store across a parking lot, looking at your phone, worried about what you're doing next, instead of being aware of your surroundings. And that's where we're headed.
And that's
with this.
where we're going to start.
Yeah.
Be aware of your surroundings, and you hear it time and time again. And I'm fine, I got that. But if you ever go and just watch people, either in the mall, walking in and out of a store, their head is in their phone.
Right.
As soon as they get out, their head is in their phone. So someone could come approach you, and you would never. Where did they come from? I don't know. They were just there. I looked up, and they were there. How many times do you hear that? So yes, we're going to start with be aware of your surroundings. A lot of people these days don't go to stores. They shop online.
Mm-hmm.
They may be somewhere else other than their residence or their business where they know that Wi-Fi is secure. Make sure you have a secure Wi-Fi so nothing gets compromised.
It's a good point. Every time we talk about online shopping, the first thing we talk about is Porsche pirates, right? This is before you even get the thing delivered.
Before you even get it delivered. You may never see it, and then you look at your bank statement, and you have all these fraudulent charges because of the fact that your card was compromised, and you have no clue where they are. And now you're trying to prove that it is you while you're trying to get the situation resolved. With that being said, that moves into the next, is your passwords.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a good idea to use password for a password. Use a strong password that nobody can get.
Right.
The longer, the stronger the password is, it's becomes more difficult for these scammers to compromise.
Okay,
that.
so but then I have this discussion with Haggai all the time in Cup Attack Gumbo. Is therein lies the problem? The longer and more convoluted the password is, the harder it is for me to remember it too.
Well, and you can write it down or put it in a secure spot or don't make it too personal where we know you had these are your children's names or you have these pets, but make it something that you can remember, which would be more difficult for other people to remember.
See, my password is Don Capola.
Hey,
and
nobody will guess that.
No, and I use ones for the L's. So
there you go.
That's how I
Look,
replace
nobody,
that right there.
And now that it's out, all the listeners know that. But anyway,
fine.
I mean, it's probably time to change it.
It's capital D, capital C.
There you go.
Use ones for the L's. That's my password right there.
Checking your credit card statements. Get in that habit. As far as if you're going out, if it's nighttime, park in a well-lit area. Know where you park. You have people that just sit in lots, and some of these vehicles are very nice vehicles. And if you're making trips back and forth to your car, keep the packages you bought out of plain view. You don't want somebody to walk by and notice all these gifts, and then they're going to help themselves.
The plain view thing is one that infuriates me. It's in fact, I was the meeting for the Sherwood Forest Crime Prevention District for them. It was on Monday night, and on the commission gets together every other month, and we break down, everything. A lot of what we break down involves the police reports and of what has happened over the course of the last 2 months, and without fail, every single car break-in, two things are very, very prevalent. Number one, there was something in plain sight, and number two, the door was unlocked. I'm literally to the point now where if you've got your door unlocked, you're causing the problem.
And to take it a step further, your vehicle is not a gun safe. If you have a firearm inside your vehicle, and we're talking, hey, we have packages, they don't even see the firearm, but yet once they get inside, they remove whatever, they're going to dig around because they're there.
Right.
Why not take the opportunity? Let me open the glove box. Let me, look under the seats. Take your firearm out of your car. Because
100%.
if it's taken, there's another firearm on the street. Another thing, we talked before we came on air about this catfishing, and this is coming up.
Yeah, it's like it's making a resurgence.
It is. These scammers, they're male, female, contact these individuals through these apps, and hey, I lost my wife, I lost my mom, and they make you feel sorry for them. Well, I need some money. I'm going to come visit you, but I'm out of money. Can you front me this, and I'll get and people are doing this. Here are my kids, and you can tell they're AI generated.
Yeah.
No one looks that perfect.
Right.
So it's just, and once the money's sent, all of a sudden, the victim tries to recontact, and the conversation is gone because they've been blocked from this app. So just be cautious of that.
All right. We got Lieutenant Don Capola with us. This is our Crime Stopper segment. We do it every Thursday. We have a few fugitives we need to get after today.
We do. The East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office is looking for Richard Hicksonball, 36 years old, along with a Jacob Lofton, 33 years old. Investigators believe these two are partners in crime, both wanted on monetary instrument abuse, theft, and bank fraud. It's believed that they were in possession of some stolen checks from a business. These checks were cashed at a local bank in the Zachary area, totaling a few $1,000s. So anybody know the whereabouts of a Richard Hicksonball and a Jacob Lofton, contact Crimestoppers. Baton Rouge Police is looking for a...
Let's go back to the checks one real quick
before
we move on, because I got a couple questions there. As checks become less and less prevalent, does that make it easier to find somebody like this?
Well, they went to a local bank in the Zachary area and cashed these checks. So as you enter a bank, well, you have video.
Yeah.
Okay. So it helps investigators because of the fact they're able to get this video and see who cashed this check, along with who maybe endorsed the check, so forth and so on. So through the course of this investigation, they learned that Jacob and Richard believed to be the ones responsible for this.
Right.
So enough to have a warrant issued for them, and once they are apprehended, then they get to tell their side.
I would have to imagine in trying to use those checks, they're going to go someplace that's really off radar, right?
You would think so, but again, it's situational based, and a lot of what we're dealing with may not be the brightest. So it's really hard to say.
Let's hope. Who else we got?
Baton Rouge Police, excuse me, is looking for Abraham Washington on the charges of domestic abuse battery. Believed he punched a female acquaintance with a closed fist, gave her a black eye. She initially was scared to call the police, but she later did the right thing. And again, Abraham Washington is wanted by the Baton Rouge Police Department on domestic abuse battery.
Okay. Another week goes by. We can't have a week without a domestic abuse.
No, but investigators have made an arrest in the latest homicide of the child.
Oh, Swan Street.
Swan Street.
Wow, that's right. I saw an email yesterday. I didn't even get around to it, but yeah,
an arrest has been made. So it's we're hoping that information comes up with the unsolved that we do have. What it's Christmas time. What better way for a family who's lost a loved one to get that phone call just to give them closure? So if you have any information, and I'm not going to list them, but the unsolved that we have, pick up the phone, contact Crimestoppers, 344-STOP, P3 app, our website. Get us that information so we can help a family this holiday season, bring some closure. We can't bring their loved one back, but we can sure give them the closure they need.
100%. He is Lieutenant Don Capola. We do Crime Stoppers every week. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Here's your money now. Caught up with us, so it's too quick. I had too many people arguing with me online. The 25, the stay back bill. Yeah. The thing I was talking with. Having had a cousin, multiple cousins with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, having had a cousin get hurt on the job because someone wasn't staying back, they were trying to interfere. They were trying to they come up on the scene. They don't know what's going on. My cousin's trying to detain this person. He had to take him to the ground, and then guy comes up and like just sees the takedown, doesn't see everything that happens before that, and goes to like grab my cousin. First of all, you don't grab a cop who's arresting somebody. Goes to grab my cousin to say like, "You're being aggressive" or whatever. Like that's unnecessary force. Well, my cousin turns on this guy because he's being grabbed. At that point, the person he was trying to detain is able to fight back, and my cousin got hurt. So, like, I don't understand what's so hard about stay back. There's nothing hard to me about that.
There's nothing hard about it at all. You know, and hey, well, you should have had somebody, or well, you know what? You don't know where backup is. They may be tied up doing something else. They may be fighting traffic.
Hang on
No,
a
and
second.
it's people who have never been in this situation. They don't understand it. I'll see you next week.
Yep, we'll see you next
If
week.
need, in the meantime, you know where I'm at.
Always. We never did numbers throughout the whole year this year.
But we could start do that the first segment of the new year.
Will we have complete numbers for 2024?
Maybe not the first Thursday. But sometime during the month we will.
Okay.
Because we're always around a month behind because
Yeah.
of payday purposes.
Yeah.
Or we could just say, these aren't complete numbers, but through November.
January through November. Let's do that.
We can do that because
Let's do that because it's a nice.
Look, I can tell you that we have assisted in 8 homicides, and number 9 is waiting for an indictment through the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it's and the amount of money we paid out. I think that's impressive.
Yes. Same.
I'm trying to get with Johnny about.
And not just the amount paid out, the number of people paid out too, because that lends credence to the batting average of anonymity. It's like, hey, 50 people got paid last year, and all of them are anonymous. You're not going to be an outlier.
I like it.
Cool.
You need something, let me know.
You too.
God, thanks for your help, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for not keeping me in the cold.
I was ready, man. I was spry. I was ready to jump and come running.
Actually, got the heater out just for you.
I like it.
If there's ever a day where he doesn't, I don't want to see a day where he doesn't break my balls just a little bit.
Right. Love it. Love it. And shout out to Don, man. He was so cool to my kids. We went to that night out against crime thing. Man, he was so cool to my kids. Really cool.
.755 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, almost done with hour 2, ready to kick off hour 3. Busy third hour coming your way. We got Whitney, Hoffman, Sayal from the Downtown Development District hopping in at 8:15. Let's talk about the year that was and the year that will be. Get a 2024 recap and a preview for 2025, but also fold this into the conversation we had a couple days ago with Rolf McCollister. I say a couple days ago. That was last Friday, wasn't it? Yeah, almost a week ago. talking about how downtown needs to be refocused upon in 2025. Where are we going from here, and what's the face of downtown going to look like? This is what's on Whitney's plate darn near every day with her role as the head of the Downtown Development District. So let's pick her brain a little bit. That's coming up next hour. Also next hour, ABC News' Brad Garrett. Yes, not to be confused with actor Brad Garrett. ABC News' Brad Garrett is going to join us. We are going to talk about Luigi Mangione and how he got down the rabbit hole that he got down. I mean, if you look up the definition of white privilege in the dictionary, you're probably going to see, if not his picture, at least his short bio. Private school, exclusive private school, Ivy League graduate, University of Penn. Parents aren't just country club members, they're country club owners, and a number of other businesses as well. He comes from means. He's got everything. And then, well, that walks us up to what he did and how. How did he get down that path? We'll talk with Brad Garrett about that from ABC News next hour. Yesterday on the show, Congressman Graves was absolutely on fire. It's a really good D.C. Current presented by LABI. And, hey, our news partners over at Louisiana Radio Network picked up on some of what we were talking about yesterday. We're going to dive back into that in just a second. I do need to take a moment to tell you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. Their website, parishbuilt.com. Parishbuilt.com. They like to say, do business with someone you know. It's more than just a catchy tagline. As someone who has walked through the process, I can tell you it's very, very real. So when they say do business with someone you know, yeah, you know the owners, right? You know Moscona, you know Terrio, you know Richard Tilley. It's pretty regularly heard names, right? But what about Zach? You know Zach? Zach's my guy. Zach's the guy that I would call and text anytime I had a question about anything going on throughout the process. And you know what he'd do? He'd call or text right back. He'd either answer his call right then or he'd call or text right back. When they say do business with someone you know, well, you're doing business with someone who you can call upon. You can't call upon someone you don't know. So do business with someone you know. Parishbuilt.com, 364-1007, parishbuilt.com. All right. A bill that would provide Louisiana with hundreds of millions of dollars in flood protection is near its final legislative passage in Congress. Congressman Garrett Graves, this is his. It's called the Water Resources Development Act. He says it focuses on safeguarding South Louisiana from hurricanes and flooding.
If a hurricane were to come up that way, you have such a vulnerability. It wouldn't just impact St. Charles and Lafourche parishes, but literally it exposes the entire basin all the way up to Ascension Parish.
So there's a number of projects that were highlighted within this. One of the ones that the congressman talked about with us yesterday was Morganton of the Gulf was in that mix. There was a project in Livingston Parish in that mix. Also, broadening things out and shoring things up in Terrebonne and Lafourche.
Saving about $100 million that they'll be able to invest in other resiliency efforts or protection efforts.
I highly recommend go to talk1073.com. It was every interview we do here is posted on demand over at talk1073.com. I'd recommend going back and listening to the whole thing. That hundreds of millions in investments that are planned for water and wastewater infrastructure, that hits home here in Baton Rouge. It's in Ascension. It's in Livingston. It's in a number of our surrounding communities. Just that was one topic among many, and it was all just fantastic information. So if you have a chance, go check it out on demand.
Dude, I was about to cue the music. I was like, what just happened?
Whoop.
In terms of Luigi Mangione here, I mean, does that level of privilege and entitlement, lead to this? I mean, is that part of it? Or should I ask, does that level of privilege lead to entitlement that leads to this? What do you guys think?
So, I want to have a seat. We just got to knock out one more segment before you, and then we're good to go. And don't forget the camera's always on. So. Yes. So we'll recap 2024. We'll look at 2025. But I really want to pick your brain on. Did you read Rolf's column? Okay. Is he on point? Does he need to stay in his lane? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. But I want to talk about like in your role. How much can you dream big versus how much do you have to stay bogged down in day to day? Yeah, right. But who the hell could do that? Like it's okay. Oh, 100%, 100%. But like, right. And then before you know it, 2 years has gone by, and that little savings account hadn't moved. You know. What's in Plan Better 3? What are you projecting to be in? Okay. You're shitting me. Where did they come from? not just poaching from other downtown residences, though. Right? They're not leaving the Heron to move over to the River Mark. Wow. Okay. 8:06. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 39 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Man, this show's been moving by too quickly today. And we've got a busy third hour. Coming your way right now. On the table for this hour, we're going to talk with Whitney Hoffman Sayal. She's the head of the Downtown Development District. What did 2024 look like? What's 2025 going to look like? What's the future of not just downtown Baton Rouge, but there's been a lot of talk about the Riverfront project, connecting LSU to the River Center, to the Memorial Stadium. We were going to get into all of it. Whitney's going to up in our next segment, right? Oh, also this hour, ABC News' Brad Garrett going to join us to talk about Luigi Mangione and how you end up down that far down the path. Anyway. That's coming up later on in the hour. Right now, though, we start off with this day in history. Oh. I liked it. But I'll tell you during the break.
All right.
What you got, John? What you got?
All right. 1787, let's start there, where Pennsylvania became the second state to ratify the U.S. Constitution.
Go ahead, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Hey,
ratifying the Constitution and turning in assassins. That's what they do in Pennsylvania.
That's it, man. That's it. Fast forwarding all the way to 1963, if you didn't have anything before then.
I might. Hang on. I'm not caught up yet.
You're good. But in the meantime, Frank Sinatra Jr. was returned by a kidnapper, safely to his father, who paid $240,000 of the ransom that was demanded. $240K.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought it would be more than that.
Well, you got to remember the time, though, man.
Yeah, you're right.
You're thinking today's dollars.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah. By the way, a little foreshadowing on why that's significant that happened today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
foreshadowing.
Yep. Well, yeah. Foreshadowing, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yep. Let's see. Today, 1974, Jimmy Carter announces his candidacy for a Democratic nomination for president.
Oh, wow. How'd that work out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
1975, Sarah Jane Moore pleads guilty to trying to kill U.S. President Gerald Ford. Serves 32 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Movie news here. 1977, Saturday Night Fever film starring John Travolta with music by the Bee Gees premieres today.
All right. So, in time and place. Got to remember in time and place.
Yes.
But of all-time greatest soundtracks for a movie.
So great. Classic.
Yeah.
There's no denying that.
No.
At all.
So good.
Bee Gees had some bangers, man.
They did. Underrated.
So 1980, Apple makes its initial public offering on the U.S. stock market. 38 years later, it would become the first U.S. economy valued at over $1 trillion.
Yeah?
The first over $2 trillion 2 years after that. And the first over $3 trillion 3 years after that.
Why not?
Insane, right?
Why not? What are we, a year or two away from $4 trillion?
Yeah. 1982, $9,800,000 in cash, Brian. Cash. Stolen from a money transport car in New York. I wonder if that was ever recovered. We talked about that yesterday, right? I mean, some cash that was stolen that was based on Goodfellas, right?
The Lufthansa heist. Yes. One of the big scores in Goodfellas. Well, Goodfellas is based on a true story.
Yep.
So the Lufthansa heist was very, very real.
Ooh, $9 million. 1988. Stolen from a money transport car.
In New York City?
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of movies that were based off of something else, isn't that what that stupid Money Train movie was?
I believe so,
Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson.
Wow, kind of forgot about that. That's a deep cut. Yeah.
Everyone should forget about that movie. That movie was bad.
Oh, speaking of movies, 1988, Rain Man, starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, came out today. Pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, 97 here. Federal judge sentences Autumn Jackson, who claims to be Bill Cosby's daughter, to 26 months of trying to extort $40 million from him. I don't know. Now, looking back in hindsight.
Don't.
I mean.
Don't.
Anything else today?
No.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, then birthdays it is. You want to
wait, actually, no.
Okay.
In the year 2000, today was the day that the U.S. Supreme Court gave their decision on the presidential election. With remember the hanging chads and the Florida vote and all that. Today was the day that they called it. So, all right.
Nice.
You got birthdays?
Okay, talking about that foreshadowing that you were talking about.
Yes.
You want to announce it?
Sure, why not? Frank Sinatra got a son back on his birthday.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who else we got today? Brian, I don't know. Bob Barker today. Yep. Wow, see him in the mix. Anybody else on your end?
Yeah, I got a couple over here. Actor Edward G. Robinson was born on this day in 1893. Singer Dionne Warwick, born on this day in 1940. There's also first Chief Justice of the United States. That would be Mr. John Jay. He was born on this day in 1745. And I got a couple of sports names for you as well, local sports to be sure. That would be Bob Pettit was born on this day in 1932. Former LSU quarterback Warren Rabb in 1937. And former LSU offensive lineman or Rams and Bengals tackle Andrew Whitworth, born on this day in 1981.
All right. Moving on to deaths here. Starting off in 2007, Ike Turner.
Okay.
Peter Boyle, actually the year prior. Yeah.
Okay. Big Peter Boyle fan.
Yeah.
Big Peter Boyle fan.
Charlie Pride in 2020 as well.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, that's all I got.
Okay. National days here. International Universal Health Coverage Day. Hey, it's also National Ding-a-ling Day. What is this?
Whoa.
Where
are we going with this?
No. It's nothing provocative, but yeah.
Well, you have to explain what it is. You can't just say that and then leave it out
I'm
there.
Gonna leave it. Why not? I'm just going to leave it ding-a-ling.
Because I'm the one that's going to get the emails.
Dangling.
I'm the one that's going to get the phone calls.
It's one of those uniquely American inventions. It's sort of a twofer holiday where you touch base, preferably by phone, hence the playful reference to ding-a-ling with friends and family you may have lost track with during the year. You could just say, like, call a relative day or something. Why does it have to be ding-a-ling? Hey, you know what? It's Gingerbread House Day as well.
Can we roll with that one, please? Like,
no, that's
proof
that's
this,
no
man.
Fun.
Yes.
No. I did proof it. I literally, Gingerbread Day was the first day. Ding-a-ling was at the bottom. I just thought it would be. I mean, why not? Hey, it's Coral Day as well.
No,
Coral,
we're sticking with Gingerbread House Day.
What about Festival of Unmentionable?
Do you build gingerbread houses with the kids?
No, man, I don't.
What?
Do that with my kids? What are you talking about?
What is
gingerbread houses?
Yes.
They're lucky they're in my house. I'm not building gingerbread houses with my kids.
How the Grinch stole my producer. It's 8:14 to talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got a break in exactly 60 seconds. First, I got to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Look, at same message as Thanksgiving. You could be hitting the road for the holidays. You need to get your car checked out first. If you drive a European vehicle, you need Vex European. Check them out online, vexeuropean.com. That's V as in Vinny, because, Vinny's the owner. vexeuropean.com. Mercedes, BMW, Jaguar, Audi, Land Rover, Range Rover. In fact, go to vexeuropean.com where it says vehicles on the homepage. Hit that little drop-down tab. If you see your make of vehicle, you know you're getting a master-level technician, an expert-level technician who knows your make of vehicle. What Vinny does is he tries to pair you with that tech, and that tech stays with you. So they know your car the same way your doctor knows you through your chart, right? It starts at vexeuropean.com. Same day or next day service. Also, check out the specials page. You get $100 off if you check out the specials page over at vexeuropean.com. We're talking downtown next. 818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. All right, time to get a little check-in on downtown. We've got the head of the Downtown Development District with us, Whitney Hoffman Sayal. Whitney, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad to have you in studio today. I love these conversations. I love every time we get you on, and it's not frequent enough.
No, I agree.
Yes,
Invite me more.
Yeah, come on.
I'll come.
I want to start with a recap of 2024. What went on? What moved? What changed? What grew? And then a preview of 2025, and then we'll get into some bigger picture stuff on the back end of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. What happened in 2024? How was downtown?
Downtown's doing good. Our office is doing well. We completed our strategic plan at the end of the previous year, so we've been really working hard on implementing what was recommended in the plan. Mm-hmm. One of the major recommendations was starting to plan Baton Rouge 3. Okay. Because our office's role is to lead the implementation of these master plans. So we did Plan Baton Rouge 1 and 2 with our community partners, of course, and we completed a lot of Plan Baton Rouge 2, and things happened and some things didn't, good or bad. And so now it's time to look at the new landscape and say, okay, now what?
Mm-hmm. So we'll continue to set the table for that, because that's the moving forward part for sure. But other highlights of 2024. I mean, do we have new businesses? You and I were talking about some of the work on the River Mark as well. So what are some of the highlights of the year?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we really should be proud of as a downtown is our residential growth, right? So we grew about 20% in 10 years. A lot of that had to do with the state and federal historic tax credits, which were used on the River Mark, as you just mentioned. And we do informal surveys just to check on the status of the apartments in the downtown area. And we are at a 90% occupancy rate in our central business district, which is huge. And then we just heard from the River Mark, they're almost fully occupied. That's huge. So we can see that people want to live downtown, and we need more supply. And when you get more residents, you get more retail, and you get all of those things. So we're moving in a positive trajectory. Mm-hmm. That's due to the state and historic tax credits, which were, up for being cut. Thankfully, those were preserved, and for the most part, we're very grateful that, because we have other buildings that could use those credits, including One American Place turned 50 years old this year.
Oh, wow.
Making it eligible. So we're very grateful for that, because we do have more to do. And then I think, when you compare us to other downtowns that after COVID had so many, vacancy rates in their office buildings, because we were able to convert those pre-COVID with these tax credits. Mm-hmm. So many of them, right? We have more. We're stabilized. So our office occupancy rate is not bad either.
There's been a different swing back in the direction of getting back into the office. And you and I have talked about this a number of times, where downtown's going to have to look different if everybody's going to work remotely. Well, the remote work is not panning out as much as everybody thought it would.
Yeah.
And more people are wanted back in the office. So are we to the point where you're seeing calls on that front?
I think so. I don't know that our downtown really experienced as drastically as other downtowns. What we're seeing on a national scale is different offices may downsize their space, but they still have space. And then there's sort of the hybrid. A lot of people moving to the hybrid remote. So you're here some days and not some days. So yes, I think so. I think, personally, you have to come into the office. There's that team collaboration and all of that you really have to get things moving.
Absolutely. And this lends back to the spirit of what a downtown is.
Right.
It's just where people come together.
Exactly.
That's, whether you're talking work, play, or living, it's where people come together. So River Mark, 95% occupancy, overall 90% occupancy. Those are pretty remarkable numbers. Do we know how they stack up against other downtowns as far as that occupancy rate?
I don't know exactly, but I know when I talk to my counterparts in other downtowns, they marvel at it, especially our office. So we're 85%, and many downtowns are very jealous of us.
Yeah. So give me some examples here. Give me some comparable cities because I was in St. Louis not too long ago. Their downtown was vacant. Their downtown looked straight up abandoned.
Yeah, we have quarterly meetings with our capital counterparts. So, a lot of people are relying on that government work, like us, right? So I think when you have big, very large corporations or governments that are there and they're not making their employees come into work on a regular basis, it really can impact them. Lansing, I know Michigan, they've really been hurt.
Yeah.
And when you don't have the workers there, then you lose your small businesses, right? That's another thing we follow closely, though. We track the number of businesses we have in our downtown area, and that number has stayed relatively stable. But I think with the growth of residential over time and the implementation of our future Plan Baton Rouge 3, we're going to have even more small businesses respond.
Let's talk Plan Baton Rouge 3 because it kind of coincides with where we want to head in 2025 and beyond. So Plan Baton Rouge 3, where are we in the process, and how long will it take to get through the process to where we can go from plans to see some cranes out there, some road cones or whatever?
Yeah, so they've narrowed it down to 3 firms. They're going to have interviews, I think, on Monday. And then I think, very quickly they'll choose a consultant team to lead that process, kicking it off in the beginning of next year. Depending on the timeline negotiations, I think the planning process will be somewhere between 9 and 12 months. So it's going to be a heavy focus in 2025. But I think that, there's going to be things that come in the planning process that we're going to move on, right? We're not just going to wait to do things until the plan is finished. We know there's things that need to be done, and we're going to keep doing those.
We've got Whitney Hoffman Sayal from the Downtown Development District with us for a couple more minutes, talking about where we're headed in 2025, talk a little bit about Plan Baton Rouge 3. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that the LSU Arena to the River Center to the Memorial Stadium. When the news first came out, there was a lot of folks were very excited about it. Is the momentum still there?
Well, my focus is obviously downtown, so 100% River Center. But I am a community supporter of everything. I would love to see all 3 things happen. But, so I can't really speak to LSU and how those plans are moving forward. But we're going to move forward with, what we're going to do at the River Center. And I think that is a focus that we really need to look at in Plan Baton Rouge 3, because my thing is, we know the River Center needs to be transformed, obviously, right? And so if we do that and we transform it to what it could be, we have an opportunity to better connect it to our riverfront. And that is a huge focus, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, and it should be, and hopefully it'll grow in focus. Rolf McAllister had a great column, I guess about a week ago or so. In fact, I had him on the show last Friday to talk about it. And he mentioned how downtown, and specifically the riverfront, needs to be top of mind for everyone in 2025. The riverfront seems to be a problem that why can't we get past square one?
Well, it's not easy.
Right.
But other cities have figured it out. So we need leadership and everybody, pulling on the same rope to move past those hurdles. We have the railroad, we have the levee. But then, we also have opportunities in the northern part of the district. There's 40 acres, right, that is not impeded by the levee, and it does have access over the railroad. Mm-hmm. It's next to the Queen Casino,
right?
So there's a lot of things.
It's got access under the railroad too.
Well, yeah, right, under the railroad. So it's not impeded by that, right? But there are problems, but I think problems give you creative solutions that are even cooler than what you thought could be.
So one of the things that Rolf referenced is a long since forgotten public-private partnership project that was called Audubon Alive.
Yes.
And for the old school listeners, they remember this because this was being proposed about the time that Talk 173 was being launched as a station. It caught a lot of popularity, and then it caught a lot of naysayers, and the naysayers won out. And this was well before you got here. How familiar are you with Audubon Alive and what was proposed back then?
Well, I was in Baton Rouge. I believe at the time I was in graduate school.
Okay.
But yes, I do remember it.
When I say got here, I meant to your post.
Yes, in downtown for sure. But I always loved downtown.
Yes. So Audubon Alive, what do you think could still be implemented from that today? You think there's takeaways we could have from that to bring it back to life?
Absolutely. I think the idea of it is having an attraction that attracts everybody, very diverse ages, very diverse cultures to come together and celebrate the riverfront. So, yeah, absolutely. I think you could even pull it back up, and we will in Plan Baton Rouge 3 and say, okay, what piece of this is still relevant today? Yes. And can it be used or can it not be used, or do we tweak it a little bit?
Because, well, just specific location-wise, if you talk about LSU to River Center to Memorial Stadium, that would be in between River Center and Memorial Stadium. It would just be another link in a great chain.
Oh, I agree. I think, we can absolutely have more than 3 links in a chain. Right?
Well, yeah, one would hope, because the whole will be greater than the sum of the parts.
Absolutely.
Having everything work in conjunction would be where you would want to go. We got a minute left. We got 1 minute left. All right. Within this last minute, 2025, what's it going to look like, early on versus, because Plan Baton Rouge 3, it's got to be moving along, but you're not waiting on the plan to get anything done. So what's early 2025 looking like for us?
So we do have some projects that we hope to get moving on the riverfront, actually. So we wrote a few grants to extend the multi-use path up to some of the residential units in the northern part of our district on the riverfront.
Okay.
And then on the east side as well, to better connect to our capital area thing. We also have a grant to install some educational signage along the riverfront. I think you're going to see a lot more housing development as well. At our last meeting, we were super excited to hear all of the cool things that are happening in downtown East and South Baton Rouge, the piece in our southeast part of our district. Lincoln Theater is under construction. Lincoln Hotel got more funding, so I believe that will move under construction soon. The Prince Masonic Temple, which was one of the most endangered historic structures in Louisiana, is moving forward, and you'll see that residential growth in that pocket of the district as well. So I think you're going to see the Heron 2 is still, on the way. We have more ADA and enhancement projects going on to better improve our sidewalks and accessibility to the public. Our gateway lighting, super excited about that. So we have some funding. Visit Baton Rouge contributed as well as the city, but we are hoping to light underneath the interstate from Louisiana Avenue, where the downtown Greenway connects to the Government Street bike lanes, to North Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be artistic colored specialty lighting to welcome people into the downtown area. We have a consultant on contract to help us work with DOTD to get those approvals, but we expect that to happen next year too. It'll be really
Why
great.
am I envisioning, like, when you walk into an amusement park, like if you're going under 110, it's like approaching the gates, kind of.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can send you some renderings of what we hope it will look like.
Yes.
And I hope people to remember, it's specialty lighting, so we can light it in the colors for Southern if they have a game, or LSU, and then also, it provides that extra level of safety for people when they want to, the interstate's a barrier, right? Yeah. Perceived or otherwise, but then people will, go feel safer going back and forth in that space.
Very, very cool stuff. She is Whitney Hoffman. Sayal heads up the Downtown Development District. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thanks. I love coming here.
Always. Here's news. Yes, I don't call you enough. I know. That's on me. No, you're not. It's legit. You already know my level of fandom, so. I don't think I get press releases from y'all. No, you know what I get? When y'all have meetings. That's it. No. I know when y'all have, like, finance committee meeting or whatever. Like, I see all those announcements. Oh, so this is my second stint at Guarantee. In between my stints at Guarantee, I worked in inbound marketing. So I love content creation to drive interest.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Yes, I'll send those to you. I did one on the riverfront. I've done one on residential. It's about time I need to work on another one. I have to come in on Saturdays to pump those out so I can focus.
For the second year in a row, Louisiana leads the nation in early season flu cases. Vaccination is still an option and can help reduce the severity and spread of the flu. State epidemiologist Teresa Sokol says other preventive measures include hand washing, covering your cough.
And yeah, residential's been kicking it. It's going for businesses. I want to show me a build, like something big that's going to change the face. Like as you drive across from Port Allen, I want to look over and be like, that's new. I know. That's where you see the big win. Right.
And then, I don't know. I also challenge people. Think about it downtown. Who you visit that you're jealous of that you see out like glowing and going. Name me one that doesn't. This report is sponsored by Allstate. No one can do it.
Correct.
No one can do it.
Correct.
And they're like,
Easily save and get quality protection. Yep,
yeah.
it's a win-win. So where are you heading for? Check Allstate first for
Same.
a quote today.
Same.
Good hands with Allstate.
Well, thank you much.
My absolute pleasure. And side note. It's my job to make it entertaining.
Yeah.
So, like, but yeah, I'm always open to that.
Okay. Let me think on that. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
You know, it's a joke because like anybody who would know me would be like, "Why is he even saying that?" Like I was literally complimenting Don before for like, yeah.
I was gonna say Target sells them to be built so that you just have her decorate. Building them and pulling them together is always my favorite.
But I think it's like
We'll
the
see.
comedy side of it of like I don't want to apologize because if you don't know me, then I have nothing to explain to you. But if you do know me, I'd be like, "Why did he say that?" You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's kind of a yeah.
Well, now I know a little bit more about you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
You too, Whitney. Thank you.
But like I said, it takes away if you know that about me, it's like it takes away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I'm like, I'm not building a gingerbread house with my kids. They're lucky they're in my house. It's like, I don't have to explain that.
At 40. All right, time to get a look at your forecast here as we start off with a cold morning, but it's going to warm up a little bit. We should get up to 60 degrees today, like right at 60. Overnight low tonight gets back down to 43, a little bit warmer tomorrow, up to 66. Saturday up to 73. Sunday all the way up to 78 for Sunday and Monday. Now Monday, expect some thunderstorms and some rain to stick around into Tuesday morning, which should cool things back off again as your highs throughout the back half of next week will be in the low to mid 60s. Right now, oh, by the way, overnights getting down into the 40s next week as well. Right now, we're sunny and 45 in downtown Baton Rouge. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to get Brad Garrett coming on with us in just a minute. Not Brad Garrett, the actor. I feel like I got to clarify that every time. Brad Garrett's with ABC News. He's their crime and terrorism analyst. Yes, I know Paul Violas is our normal crime and terrorism. Well, law enforcement and security expert. But I wanted to lean on Brad here a little bit because he's talking specifically about Luigi Mangione and the question of how he got so far down the rabbit hole. How do you get to the point where you take your anger crosses that threshold to hunt a man down and kill him? How do you get radicalized like that? We're going to talk with Brad here in just a minute. First, I got to remind you about the folks over at P.F. Chang's. You know where to find them. They're in Town Center. We're at Town Center. Just look for the giant golden horse. P.F. Chang's great lunch stop-off, to be sure. Their lunch menu is fantastic. I was there, early last week for lunch, and got the firecracker shrimp, and went with the brown rice, and the portions are amazing, the flavor's amazing. The Asian spices are fantastic because you're either going to find traditional Chinese dishes or a number of different Asian-inspired dishes. But when it comes to the lunch menu, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong, and it's affordable as well. Check them out in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. It's P.F. Chang's. All right, Brad Garrett's on with us now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Glad to have you on here this morning, although the topic is a rough one. Let's talk a little bit about Luigi Mangione and how you get from point A to point B. Walk me through a little bit about what we know about his background, and do we know anything about how he got to the point of wanting to kill someone?
So we don't know how he got there. I can just only describe to you what would take him there, what mindset, what would have happened. We can get to that in a second. But, he's a kid that's super smart, attractive, from an influential family in Baltimore. Went to a really terrific private high school, went to an Ivy League school, University of Pennsylvania, got a bachelor's and master's degree in engineering and computer science. And then I don't know what happened to him after that, because it doesn't seem like, what little we know, that he actually got a serious job and sort of floats around to various parts of the world. And then 6 months ago, apparently just cut everyone off. His parents don't know where he is. Friends and relatives don't know where he is. And finally, out of desperation, his mother, I think 2 weeks before the shooting, filed a missing persons report in San Francisco, because I'm going to assume that's the last address she had for him. And so, you would say to yourself, why did he drop out? Well, I think he dropped out because he was planning what he ultimately ended up doing. To get to a kid that I just described, to a kid that assassinates a CEO in the middle of Manhattan during a workday, the following has to happen. Basically, radicalization generally falls into about 4 phases. The first phase is you're attracted to a particular radical thinking or philosophy. This happens all the time in terrorist organizations. Yes. Kids get attracted to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, domestic terrorism groups, you name it, and they get lured in, and then they become fascinated. And what happens is it moves from fascination to believing, and then it moves from believing to believing that violence is the way to deal with it because nothing else will actually work. And then the 4th phase is you go out and commit the crime, which clearly occurred in this case. Now, the particulars of that, obviously, I know nothing about, and law enforcement may well get us there. I'm just telling you that had to happen only based on what's been found. His comments and these writings that the police found in Altoona, whacking a CEO and, sort of totally justifying what he did and that he's on the right side of this. Yeah. So all of his behavior would suggest he feels righteous about what he's done.
Well, and there's so much public support coming back in, either on social media or people making donations to his defense fund. Is there a point where you could say that his own radicalization, that a number of others are kind of not down that path, but definitely I can see this being copycatted?
Well, there is no doubt this could be copycatted. And, clearly people, generally speaking, are not particularly happy with the healthcare insurance industry. They've been turned down on claims, or they've only gotten, partial payment on a real expensive operation or whatever it might be. So there's a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths about insurance, healthcare insurance. So you start with that. And then you're going to have a percentage of people who say inappropriate things online. And then you're going to have a very few of those folks that actually go and do something. And it's changed the behavior of the healthcare insurance industry. They've pulled CEOs and other higher-ups off their websites. They've gone to, some of them have gone to virtual meetings instead of meeting in person. And my guess is they probably started physical security on some of their executives.
I would imagine so, and not just in healthcare though, because the ramifications is you could take healthcare and make it one, cause, but there's so many others where a lot of the same things and a lot of the general discontent would apply.
Well, there is no doubt, and it'll be interesting to know if, in fact, the police and law enforcement find this. Is that, is it, to your point, is it like bigger? Is it like corporate America? We'll have to see. But clearly, his focus was on the healthcare industry, which may have been at least initially driven because he got injured and had to have back surgery.
Right.
My guess is that it wasn't maybe denial of service, but maybe that was his fascination. Who knows? But I sense that this has gone back several years. This didn't happen in the last 6 months. This gradually has happened over a period of a few years.
What are we able to take away from his quote unquote manifesto?
That he's clearly somebody that's been radicalized, that he is completely in his mind justified for doing what he did. And it's an important point to note that that's where all of folks that get radicalized into these violent ideologies feel totally that it's for the greater good, that they believe, that ISIS believes, that Al-Qaeda believes, and that, obviously they have a different bent as to what they want reality to be. But the mind, the psychology, the mindset of getting people to a certain place is all going to be the same, more or less. And so I think that's what you take away from this, that anybody can be susceptible. You can be super bright, attractive, and have, a really lavish, by many people's definitions, life, and still end up like this.
And last one before we get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate your time. We're talking with ABC News' Brad Garrett. It's about that life. When looking at the possibility of copycats and the like, and trying to copy and paste this scenario through other corporate worlds and whatnot, his lifestyle, does that detract from his story? Because he doesn't sound like, the poor, downtrodden, beaten down person who was beaten up by the healthcare system. He had a life of luxury.
Yeah, and I could find you examples of people that have gone into ISIS and Al-Qaeda that are from privilege. I mean, going way back, look at the 9/11 hijackers.
Yeah.
A number of them are from wealthy families in the Middle East. And so you can see how that part doesn't matter. What matters is that people get to a place in life where they're susceptible to being, for lack of better terms, radicalized. And clearly, for whatever reason, because of whatever circumstances, this kid got to that point.
He is ABC News' Brad Garrett. I appreciate a couple minutes of insight this morning, Brad. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too. He brought up the 9/11 hijackers. And what an unbelievable comparison right there. Well, hell, Osama bin Laden's parents were rich. But the reason I asked the question about his past and that life of leisure, not leisure, but life of, I'm going to use the word privilege, okay? Forgive me. I'm just going to use the word privilege. That life of privilege and then walking down this path, I don't know. When you look at the people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck, when you look at the people who don't have the money to come out of pocket to pay for something that they need healthcare-wise, when they get screwed over by a healthcare system, the sympathy is just over the top. When a bored little rich kid decides he wants to be a social justice warrior, you don't have that same level of sympathy or empathy from the rest of the populace. So where I'm going with that is, if we were going to see a copycat, is he the wrong symbol for change? And I'm trying not to make him like I'm trying not to make him out to be like a Guy Fawkes character or something like that. But you see where that comparison's there too. Is he the wrong guy to pick up this mantle and say, I'm going to right this wrong? Well, not where you came from. You're not with your private schools and your Ivy League schools. And And then there's the conspiracy theory part of it. And if you haven't dug in on the conspiracy theories surrounding this, I highly recommend. Highly recommend. If you can, read and enjoy a conspiracy theory without going to give it too much credence. Anyway, the story is not going away anytime soon, so we obviously will continue to follow it. Hey, Talk 107.3 is heading back to our nation's capital to celebrate Washington Mardi Gras. Join me and Gordy Rush Thursday, January 23rd, Friday the 24th, as we broadcast live from the Washington Hilton for Mornings with Brian Haldane, as well as a special afternoon drive show from 4 to 6 both days. This is handling business the way that only Louisiana can. It's Washington Mardi Gras on Talk 107.3, presented by Presley Wealth Management. We got a break for Your Money now. We'll come back, close it out with the Outside In next. Oh. Man, I am spent. And by the way, I'll share this with Facebook right now. I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Every so often, I have to cite a quote from one of the greatest movies of one of the greatest movies ever. Not of the last 20 years, 30 years. Well, it's actually more than 20 years old. It came out in 1999. But I'll probably have to pull it back up again so that I can get it word for word. But if I could just give you and I apologize if I miss a word or two. I'm doing my best off of memory, but we're the middle children of history, man. We have no purpose. We have no place. We have no Great War. We have no Great Depression. Where does it go from there? Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives. We've all been raised with TV, making us believe that we're all going to be millionaires, that we're all going to be famous, we're all going to be rock stars and gods, and we're not. We won't. We're slowly learning that, and it's pissing us off. Name the movie. Can you? You know the movie? All right. Name the movie, Facebook. See if I can find it word for word. Boop, 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 boop. It had so it did you reduce it down to just the down? Okay. Whew. Whitney is the featured. Downtown's residential sector continues to impress. Residential sector continues to impress. .856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hey, don't forget Talk 107.3 and Citizens Bank and Trust are bringing you the ultimate holiday gift with our Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We're here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at talk1073.com and you could be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th. John, I know we're going to get to the outside in a minute, but, man, I just wrapping up on that topic from the last segment.
Yeah.
With the Luigi Mangione.
Yes.
Which, by the way, we've made it a full week of saying this guy's name, and nobody's referenced musician Chuck Mangione yet. So, I don't know. Anyway, one of the things I didn't get to with Brad Garrett, and I'm probably going to do a whole segment on this tomorrow, is every time I see something like this happen, I revert back to one of the greatest movies of all time.
Okay.
And a quote by a character in this movie who says, "We are the middle children of history. We have no purpose. We have no place. We have no great war. We have no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We are slowly learning that fact, and we are very, very pissed off." And I wonder how much of this is a translation of that. How much of this is just generation after generation of generation feeding the ego, feeding the self, never being selfless about anything, always wondering about me, me, me. How am I special? How am I a star? How am I going to rise above? How can I look like I give a damn about other people, but really it's about me? I want to assassinate the CEO of United Healthcare because it's going to look like I'm serving my fellow men because I'm so empathetic to their plight. But really, I want people to remember Luigi Mangione.
Of course, man. We're the main characters in our own stories, right? And then when you add narcissism and everything else on top of that.
When you add, narcissism and just a touch of mania.
Yeah.
Narcissism and a touch of mania. And we think
Some
we have
deadly
those main character
man.
vibes.
Yep. Deadly ingredients.
No way this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Outside in, let's get it. Starting off at St. Mary Parish, the Franklin Police Department is searching for a man wanted for attempted second-degree murder after shooting around Lee Charles Street on Tuesday. Cordell Johnson Jr. is wanted for 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, alongside 2 counts each of illegal use of weapons or dangerous instrumentalities, aggravated criminal damage to property, possession of a firearm by a person convicted of certain felonies, and illegal possession of stolen firearms. Heading down to New Orleans, billionaire hospitality mogul Tillman Fertitta hopes to one day own the New Orleans Saints. The current owner of the Houston Rockets has expressed interest in adding the black and gold to his growing portfolio of businesses. His business empire includes Landry's Seafood House, Bubblegum Shrimp Company, and the Golden Nugget Casino. I'm hearing about somebody else that might be interested in the Saints, but we can't talk about that yet. Next stop, Tangible Pair. Oh, are we out?
We're out.
Fine. That's going to do it for us. Moon Griffon's next. All right, Facebook, we're getting on out of here. Get on out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow.